Hola, hola.
Hola, hola. Hey.
Hi.
Hola, Paige. Hola, hola a todos. ¿Cómo están? Buenas noches. Muchas gracias por acompañarme el día de hoy. Gracias de igual manera por haber estado pendiente de las transmisiones de mis compañeros. Bueno, me presento rapidísimo para los que no me conocen. Mi nombre es Jorge Garza. Soy entrenador de patinaje en la pista de hielo Ice Gallery en Mérida, Yucatán. Y bueno, gracias por estar esta noche con nosotros. El día de hoy vamos a hablar de un tema en particular que me llama demasiado la atención y que creo que todos como entrenadores necesitamos un poquito de información sobre el tema, que es la comunicación entre padres y entrenadores. Sabemos que, bueno, tanto padres como entrenadores somos una pieza clave en el desarrollo de todos los atletas. Y pues para eso, el día de hoy tengo el gusto de presentarles a una compañera, amiga, una entrenadora que admiro muchísimo. Su nombre es Paige. Paige, how are you?
Very good. How are you, Jorge?
I'm good. Thank you for being tonight here with all of us. And before I let you talk, I'm going to say something a little bit of you in Spanish so the people that doesn't know you can get to know you a little bit. Okay, Paige es entrenadora en el Toronto Cricket and Skating, en Curling and Skating Club en Toronto. Ella es especialista en giros, coreografías, saltos, en manejo de atletas. Algunos de sus logros están en que es co-creadora de My Skate Coach y ha sido coach de Grassroots to World and Olympic Athletes. Y también ha sido coach de Patrick Chan, Jeff Battle, Juna Kim, Joy Russell, Takeshi Honda, Javi Fernández, y actualmente sigue siendo entrenadora y siendo parte del desarrollo de patinadores como Evgenia Medvedeva, Yusuru Hanju, Jason Brown, Allison, y pues bueno, eso es un poquito de lo que puedo decir de Paige. So, Paige, how are you? Thank you for being here. It's a
Good. It's a
pleasure
pleasure. It's a
to
pleasure
have
to be
you.
here. Thank you.
So before we go to the main topic tonight, why don't you let us know a little bit of you as coach and a little bit of Paige as your philosophy as coach before we start with the main topic.
Okay. I think that it's really important to develop a person. And when I'm coaching, I know we have expectations as parents, coaches, even athletes that want to win. And I think that it's important to try to be your best at all times. But I also feel like developing a person so that 20 years from now, if I bump into someone that I coached in a shopping mall, they look at me and say, "You've really helped me in my life." Because they might become a doctor, which they have, lawyers, accountants, you name it, any walk of life, where they can look back on skating and say, "This has helped me become the person I am and want to be." And it's not always about winning. And sometimes we have to lose to learn some lessons. And my philosophy is just let's all do the best we can together and let's really develop a person. And sometimes hard times will make you stronger. It will
Mhm.
let you see who you really are. Um, my biggest love is when I see someone years down the road and they hug me and just they say that their time with me was special because I'm not just focusing on that win, which is important. I get that. But I think we have to think that we're all people, we're all learning and growing, and we have to be nice to each other. And my thing is creating a just a good person. And I
Mhm.
think that's really important in life. And those life skills will get you a lot farther in the end, because when you're finished with skating and the skater is retired, they're going to look back on their career and really appreciate those times.
Yeah, like you become part of their growing process, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so that leads us to our main topic tonight, which is, and I'm going to say something in Spanish for the coaches who are watching us.
Yes.
Creo yo que un factor muy importante para nosotros como entrenadores y el hecho por el que yo escogí este tema es porque a veces en lo personal, y a lo mejor todos se van a, bueno, muchos van a coincidir conmigo en que nos cuesta un poquito tener esa comunicación con los entrenadores, perdón, con los papás de nuestros alumnos. Entonces, es por eso que invité a Paige para tratar y que ella, pues, desde su muy particular punto de vista, nos ayude a todos como entrenadores, pues, a convertirnos en mejores entrenadores, abriéndonos a la comunicación con los padres de familia, siempre al final, pues, con el objetivo de hacer y convertir mejores atletas. Okay, Paige. So, communication between parents and coaches. That's our main topic tonight. What do you think about this?
I think it's super important. And I think the parent has the right to the communication, and the coach can guide the parent through some different times. Many cases, the parent doesn't know skating, and they want what's best for their child. And I mean, I don't have children, but I understand that if I did, I would be the first one, like, hello, talk to me, tell me, because you're there for your child. And I really understand that. And as coaches, we put the skater first and foremost. And I think a lot of times we have to really communicate that to the parent. And the communication, whether it be the plan for the year, the plan for the day, the plan for the week, I feel like we can really help the parent, because sometimes, not just sometimes, I would say most of the time, they're in uncharted water and they don't know what to expect. And when we speak to them and we say, I'm going to give you an example, the time we're going through right now. We're off the ice and it's very difficult. And I think as a skater, you panic. As a parent, you panic. In just a way like, what is going to happen?
Yeah.
And I find many times I speak to the parents or the skaters and I say, skaters have been injured for over a year and come back and done, they've won world championships, Olympic titles. We're not injured. We're still doing our dry land training. And you speak to them and it's like holding someone's hand and just saying, it's going to be okay. Everyone sighs a relief, and it's just because of that communication. So I really feel like we as coaches can communicate, but also I feel like the parent needs to ask questions when they have them, which leads me to a form of communication. I do tell parents I'm not available on my day off, which is Sunday. So please just, unless it's an emergency, of course, I'm always open. But you can also set some guidelines, which I think we do even with our friends and family. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not answering the phone before, or I don't speak about business after 6 o'clock. So I think it's our job too, as coaches, to set perimeters in that communication.
Okay, so you think communication is a key for every relationship, right?
Yes.
So how can this key can be reflected on skating? Like, on your point of view, how can communication can be just like the key for a good develop a good skater?
Well, the parent will become a little more relaxed and and really then know and trust the coach. There also is the fact that the skater becomes more relaxed, and I think communication is just key for everyone to have a healthy training situation. And even if it's going to a competition or if it's just a training week, everyone is on the same, pardon the word, page, but everyone is together, working together, and the communication brings a team. The team is the skater, the parent, the coaches. And as soon as that boat starts rocking and there's a little bit of I think that's when the communication breaks down, and it comes back to the skater's performance. It comes back to the way the coach feels about the skater. So I think the communication keeps just a happy place for everyone.
Yeah, totally. And like, how often, Paige, do you think like we should have like a meeting with our parents? Like talking about me, like the the people who I work with, you
Yeah.
know her, Paloma.
Yes.
We work a lot. Like we're always on the ice. We're always on the ice. Like sometimes for us, it's hard to sit down and talk about skaters with their parents. And maybe a lot of coaches can relate on my situation that we work so hard that sometimes it's not that we don't care, is that we don't have that time to, okay, let's sit down and talk. So how how often do you think we should do like a meeting with our coaches or the coaches that are watching us?
Yeah, I
What do
think
you think about it?
I totally, that's such a great question. For all of us, I think it varies because if you have, I might have multiple meetings in a week with someone that's going to an international competition, whether it be about sharing a room with who they're with or a plan. It depends on the age of the skater, because a young skater obviously is not, you're not going to say to a young skater, you're going to do this and this. You know, if you have a 19-year-old athlete, you're going to say, this is what we're doing. And I quite often honestly find that older the skater gets, the less the parent even needs to be in the equation.
Yeah, totally.
Because we have to give that skater the responsibility, and that responsibility creates a better athlete because they're taking ownership. And when a skater takes ownership to what they're doing, they actually will produce and put out more than, you know, you would get. But so when we have, let's go to the grassroots, the younger kids, you're not going to need a ton of meetings if you have that organized plan. But I think maybe once a month to hit, it doesn't need to be a lot, because honestly, unless there's a lot of things going on, you've set a plan, you know what they're doing. Now, if something comes up and there's an issue, obviously you're going to send a text and be like, okay, we need to meet. Susie's been upset lately. And I'm all for the parents sending me a message like, Susie was upset today because this happened in the family. You know, whether it be a pet passing, a divorce, whatever. They're things. We have lives. Everyone has lives. I need to know that because I need to know why my athlete is upset for a week or so. You know, that's a hard one to pin down. I think it's circumstantial, and I think we need to be open as parents, as coaches, to keep that communication of meetings open. So I'm sorry I can't give you like it has to be this or that, but I think.
Yeah. And what other advice could you give to a coach like me or Paloma that we don't have like sometimes that, or we work like all day,
Yes.
and some days, just like you said, like some days I'm not answering my phone, and like
you have to have those times where as everyone needs that. My advice is that then you say, we're going to have a scheduled communication, but I really don't think, like I said, monthly, like unless there are things that come up, there once a month meeting is, for me, like, I feel that keeps everyone, okay, here's what we're doing. And we have such great technology now, as you can see. Look at how we're communicating. We can text and email, and there are ways to say, you know, I'm going to give you a bi-weekly little update, and then once a month we will sit down face to face, and if you have questions. But I think those meetings really don't need to be, unless there's things pending. Yeah.
Okay, and what do you think about as coaches making some guidelines or some rules for the kids, and how important you think that should be, and also do you think we have to tell them to make the parents know that we made those rules for them to follow them? Or let's talk about a little bit of rules on your like daily training.
I think it's hugely important, and I think it sets standards, and everyone knows how to behave. And I shouldn't say it that way, but I feel like if we don't set guidelines and rules, especially with parents that are in a sport that they're not familiar with, and the guidelines and rules will help the coach, but mostly it helps the athlete. And really, I think the bottom line of why coaches and parents are in this is for the athlete. And if we keep that in mind, I'm always trying to do what's best for the skater. And the parent is trying to do what's best for the skater. And if we work together and they understand what it is we're trying to achieve, things will actually seem a little clearer to a parent when you explain. So the guidelines are very helpful in, even if it's like, okay.
I'm sorry. Hey, Sherman. I'm sorry.
That's okay. If your skater talks back to me, or
Hey,
if your
yeah,
skater,
Sherman. I'm sorry.
I love
Treats.
Sherman. Treats will help. But if your
Okay.
skater or athlete talks back to a coach, the parent needs to understand that they will be removed from the ice, or whatever it is that your rule is. I mean, we all have rules, and I think we
Yeah.
need them. If a skater kicks the ice, they need to know they're going off the ice immediately. And if that rule is standard in the rink, the behavior of the athlete will stay the same. And no one is going to get away with bad behavior. And I think we are setting the tone for the session. And if a skater can come on and feel like an older skater, and there's little kids and they get in the way and they throw attitude, and we think, well, they're good, but we don't want to lose them as a coach, we can't behave that way. We have to have rules, and the parents need to understand the rules that we make, and the skater needs to understand the rule, and then we just all stick to it.
Okay, that's make the parents part of your team, right? Like make them be a backup for you when you take some kind of those decisions, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so that leads me to involvement. No, like involvement can be very supportive, but what do you think about over involvement, about parenting over involvement on the kids?
I had a very, I guess you would say, tough conversation with a mom who was very involved, and my advice to her was, don't be in the rink 24/7. Don't watch every single practice. I said, it's not my responsibility or my
Yeah,
job.
that's what Marie Roy is asking. She's asking is it healthy for a parent to be watching every single practice?
Yeah, and my thing is, no, it's not, because you don't see improvement. You watch maybe them, you think they're slacking off. You don't understand the sport. You want to push them. It upsets the child. So I was dealing with the skater whose mom was like just always on the kid. And I said to her, it's not my job to tell you what to do, but you need to get out of the rink, go for a walk, go to Starbucks, go to the gym. But I can't tell you what to do, but just, it was upsetting the skater because she would see her mom all of the time and she would pop her jumps. And she said to me, I can't take it anymore. My mom is just 24/7 watching. So when I spoke to the mom and I asked her to be a little bit more distant, she actually moved up a level and sent me a text and said, look, I'm not as close. But I was like, you only moved up a level. You didn't move out. You're still there. You're texting me in the middle of a lesson. So we have to understand that these athletes, these skaters, they need their space. They need their time. And the parent needs to be supportive. And I hate to say this, but they're dropping them off. They're paying the bills. And they're the support. How are you? How did the practice go? You look great. Oh, you struggled with, that's okay. The more pressure a parent puts on a skater, the worse the situation gets, the worse the skater skates. It's like, we've seen it as coaches. Mm-hmm. It's a sad, and I've seen it progress, and I've seen it now. Can a parent help? Yes, by saying, hey, keep up the good work, keep practicing. As long as you're working hard, I will support you, because we don't want to see kids, slack off. We want the parent to be there for the child. But I think it's really important they are the support. When the skater gets in the car and they've had a crappy competition, the parent says, you know what, but you look lovely. I loved your dress, and we'll talk about it later. Don't talk, let them, these kids are so invested and they want to be good. They're not trying to mess up. They're not trying to slack off. So the more the parent lets the child really take the responsibility for the sport, the more they will flourish.
Yeah, I love that. Marie-Rose said that she loved your quote, they are the support. Okay, so you notice a difference between on a kid's attitude, whether their mom or their parents are there or not? Like, you can see a difference on the kids' training?
Yes, definitely. And I think that you have different types of parents. You have parents that are there 24/7 that are pushy. You have parents that go to the gym and drop their kids. You have parents that, don't really watch too much, but they know what's going on. We're all different. Again, I said I don't have children, but we're all different types of parents, because I'd be the one like, hey, how was that? Was it like, you're just because you care. But the more you give them the freedom and the fact that they know you love them no matter what. If they mess up, because they're gonna have a competition where they come last, they're gonna win, they're gonna come third, they're gonna forget the program. We're gonna have ups and downs. No one's perfect. So the more that you support your athlete, and I've learned this as a coach, the more they'll flourish, because they will learn from it. You will learn from a mistake. And if you know you have support, then you'll rebound faster. You won't panic. You won't feel pressure of a parent that you think that you have to be perfect. I've had skaters that have melted down and said, my parents are spending so much money. As soon as a child knows that it's costing a lot of money, they really take it on their shoulders. I've heard skaters really, and I feel bad for them, and they get it because they're smart. These kids are smart.
Yeah.
They know that it might be a sacrifice, and the more that they're told that, the harder it gets for them. the harder it gets for them, the harder it is to perform, the harder it is to perform, the less they do at
Yeah,
competitions.
like a
The circle goes
domino.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And talking about on your experience about generations, right? Like based on what you have lived, what do you think about our generation? Do you find the same? Maybe talking about the parents, not the kids. Well, also the kids and the parents, and even on the communication. Like, do you see a difference? Like, you also have seen the best skaters in the world. So how can you explain or tell us a little bit of the generations changing?
I love texting. I love the fact that, hey, we can't come in tonight. See you tomorrow. Blah, blah, blah. Like, there used to be a phone call, and I remember being on the phone for like hours, because then you'd get what Susie ate for breakfast and what Susie's doing tonight. And it could have been a 45-minute call instead of like a text that you read in 2 seconds, right? So
Yeah.
now, yay, we have texting, we have emails.
And
I
with
feel
on their parents' behavior, like on the daily basis, the parents' behavior.
it's the same. Nothing's changed that way.
Do you think that's not something the generations or the technology or nowadays parents are is the same? So Mari Roy is asking, have you ever stopped coaching someone because the parent wasn't following your rules or the club rules? Or is that not a good enough reason to stop coaching someone? Do you want to answer that now, or we can keep going? We have that thing. Do you remember we talked about the changing coaches and the trust? Or,
Yes.
well,
Whatever you want. Whatever you want.
we can talk. We can keep like the flow and maybe keep that question just at the end. What about
Okay.
trust, Paige? What about the trust and what about trust, like parents' trust?
Well,
Like,
first and foremost, it's like anything in our lives. We need to trust who we are with, who we have hired, who we spend our time with, who we are letting our children spend our time with. And if there's no trust, I feel like we have a hole in, a big part of the relationship. And I think that when you hire a coach, there has to be that trust, even though you see that someone else is doing something. Well, Mary Susie over there is doing her novice test, and I think you have to trust that your coach is making the right decision for your skater, your daughter, and I think that can be a tough thing, because we look at everyone else, and everyone else is not everyone else.
and
Your
skating is
athlete,
such a competitive
yes,
sport. Well, all sports, but skating is an individual sport. Well,
yes,
must.
and when we have trust in our coach, we then will be. I think the skater will really, really hit the heights we need, because they will be more relaxed. They know when the mom doesn't trust the coach, or if there's like um, tension. And I have to say, the tension from the parent to the coach makes the coach tense, and that can come through to the skater not wanting to, but then you start actually making the skater try to perform and achieve more, because there's pressure from the parent. So you're like, come on, get this sit spin now, because if not, your mom's in your mind, you're like, she's gonna fire me. And that's so hard on the skater. And as a coach, you're just trying to get results because the parent wants. So it becomes, again, domino, vicious circle.
Okay, and what can you say about those parents that can be a little angry on our coaching style?
Yeah, that's.
I think that's good for all the coaches that are watching, and sometimes we feel that like we don't make parents like happy 100%, and like you're saying, you can feel that kind of tension on the environment and on the and you can it goes and it reflects on the kids.
It all
Um,
comes back. We have to remember all the behavior and all the actions and attitudes come back to the athlete, which then, you hit a competition. It's like, how'd you feel? Why do you feel you didn't perform your best? And, you know, I've heard sometimes, well, my mom's upset and she doesn't think I'm ready. And, we have to really be supportive and we have to offer the support. And I think as soon as we start getting competitive as coaches, even I'm competitive. I want my skater to beat your skater's
we
butt.
all, yeah.
Yeah. But we have to be supportive. And when they learn that we're there to support them and that we're
Okay.
all, yes.
And going with the about communication, that's our topic tonight. And that question, when you feel that your parent is not happy at all, how can you manage that with the parent?
Well, that's the communication because I think then everyone has to be honest. It's like a relationship. And when you're in a relationship with someone that's not making you happy and you just don't say anything, and then it's like, if you eat those chips like that one more time, I'm going to strangle you. And you don't tell the person, that's not fair. And I think that we have to be honest as adults to help the athletes. And then, okay, parents, say what's not making you happy, and coaches explain why you're doing something. And sometimes there's a brick wall there and there's we won't come to a conclusion, and sometimes the conclusion is for someone to go somewhere else because we've been in situations where it becomes negative for everyone. And when there's that much tension and negativity, it's not worth it because guess who suffers? The skater.
This kid.
And I mean, I think my thing is that we all look at how everyone else is improving and why isn't my daughter or my skater.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is different. You never know. You have skaters that didn't win a championship until they won worlds or like their nationals, obviously, but it's a long ride. And if we can relax and watch development and watch a child do something they love, it doesn't matter if they win. Are they learning life skills? For me, if you can think about that as a parent and a coach, that it's not about the win, because the win, it's over. It's about the trip during the win. It's about the ride. It's about the relationships. It's about the friendships. And it's about learning all the life skills. You have to go out and perform. And you might have to do a presentation. And that presentation, because of your skating, is going to be that much better. I think that's where we have to sit back and just be like, let's enjoy the ride.
Yeah. I love those words. Yes. And maybe that can take us to Mary Rose questions that have you ever
Yes.
stopped coaching someone because of the parents is not following your rules? Have you ever? You don't have
Yes.
to say names, but
No,
have you?
I definitely won't say names, but no, and it was a lot of years ago, but yes, I did. I just said, under these circumstances and just the way things were, that I was unable to provide my services to that. And it hurt me so much because I enjoyed the athlete, but it became just one of those things that I thought would be better for everyone. But again, that was really hard because I thought about the skater. I'm always thinking about the skater. So that was tough.
And it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Paige, maybe, and what about changing coaches? Like, what do you think about changing coaches? But because of, let's talk about changing coaches on our topic tonight of because
Communication.
of because of a lack of communication with the parents. You think it can be we can avoid that last
Well, the first
decision?
thing is it has to be done ethically. So the coach needs to not take a skater that is that hasn't ethically talked to the coach. The coach needs to contact the other coach. The parent needs to. There's an ethical way to do it. It happens. It happens all of the time. I mean, Medvedeva didn't come brand new. Yuzu didn't come brand new. Like I can name many skaters, but we have relationships with a lot of coaches where these skaters have come. Like Jorge and Natalia came, and we are best friends, and
Yeah.
we share a skater, and that was not a coach switch. That was a coach, like we work together. So
Yeah.
there are ways to do things, and I'm a promoter of don't leave your coach. Stay with your coach. This coach is a big part of your growing and your learning. And you know what? You never know. Do not ever burn bridges, because you might not know that the coronavirus is coming. You're stuck in Mexico and you need to skate there, or, whatever the situation
Yeah.
is. So I'm a big believer that it happens, and it not everyone is going to be with the same coach for their whole career, and they might be. I'm not saying yes or no, but be open to like a team, be open to growing, keeping, don't burn bridges, and don't think it's like, oh, if I go to that coach, it's going to be that much better. That's not the case. I've seen situations where
That's a very good point, because sometimes parents, they think that, oh, it's because of that coach, and we know coaches and we all respect us as a coaches, but I think we go back to the parents' trust when they have to trust on our job, right?
yeah.
And okay, so Brianna asked, what do you do when a parent doesn't listen, or it's difficult for a parent to listen? Like, how do you handle those kind of parents?
I just keep saying the same message. I might bring a professional in. It depends what they're not listening to. Um, I try to get as much help as I can from, if it's like a off ice situation, I'll bring in the off ice coach to speak, or, I'll bring Brian in, or Tracy, um, whoever I can, whatever resources I have. That's a hard one. And maybe if someone's not listening, they don't want to listen, and we all know what that's like. So you can draw the attention to, you're not hearing what I'm saying, so you try to say it a different way. It's hard. I bat my head against a wall sometimes. That might help.
I know. Okay, Paige, what else can you tell us about parents' communication? Like,
I
why
think
don't we talk a little bit of positive and negative behavior on the parents
I
and
think it's
parents?
yeah, I think it's like there's so many positive, like when a parent is tells a child how pretty they are and how great they looked, and I hear them, because they all have bad skates and they come off the ice, and I've heard everything, like, you look great, but why'd you forget your program? What happened? Well, just different comments. We have to remember that when a competition is finished and they have made mistakes, we're human beings, and you can say to them, it's okay. You made a mistake, but learn for the next time. We're learning. And I think that what we say and how we react is really critical. So a supportive parent, be the support, be the person, that the mom that just, or dad that gives the hug and just says, it's okay, we'll talk about it later. And you might not even have to talk about it again
Yeah.
because they know,
Okay,
and I think
I have
that,
a question, and this is like a very personal question because you work and you have been working with the best in the world, eh, and you've seen their parents.
yeah,
So what can you say this could be like the key for a good parent to achieve the goals you've seen? Like you've seen many skaters achieve their goals, you know? And back of them there's a parent who was there. Like how can you describe like a good perfect parent, or even the perfect communication with between a coach and that parent? I don't know if you
yeah,
got it.
yeah, I get what you're saying. So the first thing is, just as a parent, bring them to the rink, watch a couple times a week, because you need to show your interest. Because I also have skaters where the parents are never there. That, like,
Mm-hmm.
especially a father who's working, and oh my god, my dad's at the competition. My dad hasn't seen me skate for like 3 months. Oh my god, I have to skate because my dad's here. Panic, crap skate. It's not the dad's fault. I know he's working, but just come a little more often so that they feel the support a little more often. And it doesn't have to be a ton, like once a week, you know? And if you're not in the same country, maybe like a more video sharing, just so the child feels that they're aware of what they're doing, because they just want to be great, for their parents, for their family. I
And
think,
talking about the top skaters, they're not, maybe the top skaters are not like little kids, but do you guys still having communication with their parents?
yeah, but a lot of times it's with them. But don't think some of those top skaters' parents aren't around, like in the lounge 24/7, and they are. And but the skater can then take a little more responsibility. But those parents are still involved. But my idea is that they step back and let, as the skater gets older, they let them
Mm-hmm.
make the decision. What kind of music do you think? What kind of dress do you think? You have to have a say and take responsibility for what you're doing. As you get to be a certain age, if you can't tell me what kind of music you want to skate to, I'm like,
Yeah, right.
right? So they need to have some responsibility, the skater. But if the parent is hovering 24/7, they're not going to feel like they can.
Yeah. Okay. Here's they're asking you.
Yes.
Young skater go through a time when they get tall and maybe they lose some or their jumps. How to
Yes.
support them in those cases?
It
That's a
happens.
good.
Yes, very good. It happens
Mm,
so often. We had a girl that grew, she got so tall so fast. And I think maybe a little more with girls, as boys grow stronger as they get taller, where girls get different parts of their body, and things change. And that is tough because the timing changes, and that is a time where you could do a little more off ice. You could do a little more, communication with the parents in the height. Like, this happens. This is like a proven, when a skater gets taller, their whole timing is going to get different. And it's just perseverance and practice, and it'll all come together. But yeah, that's when communication becomes really important.
yeah, that they all have to be on the same page, right? Like, okay,
Yeah,
your kid is growing. It's not that
yeah,
we are doing something wrong.
yeah,
It's part of the
yeah.
growing process, right?
Right. And the parent will know. Like, some kids, I'll say, "You look like you're taller." And they'll say, "I'm 4 inches tall." Like, since they measure, so they know. And I'm like, whoa, I was right. So, it's one of those things that that happens a lot, especially with girls.
Yeah. Okay. Paige, do you have any experience you want to share with us about maybe the relationship with your parents, kids, or some funny experience you want to share with us,
Mhm.
or
Yes, yes. But I want to share just my experience with what we're dealing with right now.
okay.
And I feel like there's been a few kind of crazy things happen. I don't know if you guys in Mexico have had this happen, but we had an announcement a couple of weeks ago saying, Ontario is going to go back in phase 1, and we'll be skating on Tuesday, which was like a week and a half ago. And I'm sitting actually in a meeting with a bunch of people thinking, how is this happening? Like, we're still on a lockdown, but it's true. Skating got phase 1, but there was a lot of government things that had to happen. So, example, anyone lower than novice can still not skate. So all of these little kids think, yay, we're going skating, and the parents. And then the older kids and the parents had to deal with, it's not for 10 more days. And I think this is when communication became extremely important. And I was more than honest, like, hey guys, this is going to be slow. We might not be back in. I kept saying August. I think we have to really give, as much as we want to get back and as much as everyone wants to get back, there's going to be no competitions for a long time. So everyone's on an even playing field. Some people are going to get back, some people aren't. We have to just be patient, keep doing off ice, because it is making these kids better and stronger. I am like,
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
I can't, it's so exciting. Like, I mean, I can't believe how much more flexible everyone is, and their jumps are getting
stronger.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we continue that, and keep the communication open, and we might all open at different times, but we're all going to be okay. Some people have been off for a whole year with an injury and can't do the off ice. So this is just a little blip, but I find the more honest I was with the parents, the better the kids were when they found out they can't come back
That's a
yet.
good word, honestly. Yeah, that's a very good word. We have
And
a
oh,
question.
can I add to that though, the honesty
Yeah,
thing?
perfect.
I think as coaches that we have to be honest as well. Like, how many world champions are we really going to see? How many Olympic champions are we really going to see? We are in this for life skills. We are in this to better the athlete mentally, physically. And I don't mean to sound gruff, but I always take it back to, these kids are not in a pool hall smoking drugs and getting pregnant. They're doing a sport they love. So let's remember, whether they win, whether they lose, we know where they are. They're doing an athletic sport, and that is a really big bonus.
I think that's a very good message, Paige, for all of us as skaters and the parents that are watching, and coaches and skaters. Thank you for sharing that. So we have a question of um, how do you deal with ambivalent parents that support in words but not in actions?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I know, and that's a hard thing. I think everyone wants to talk the talk. We all want to talk the talk. We have to walk the walk. We have to be, if we're gonna say we're supportive, we have to be supportive. And I'm in hopes they do. And I don't feel like that's a good message to the skater. And I think as coaches, we sometimes need to call, like, I don't mean it in a bad way, but just be like, hey, can we support these kids? Like, maybe try to address it with the parent.
There's another question that about what do you think about wearing mask in trainings? I think that's going to be
The government is going to decide. And it looks like in Toronto, they went back. Someone asked when we're going back. Yesterday, they got back to the club. High level skaters went on the ice yesterday with Brian and Tracy in small groups. Apparently, I'm going back next week a little bit. And I don't know. We'll see. But I think that if the government says wear a mask, wear a mask. And if the government says stand on your head, stand on your head. And if it says you have to walk backwards 10 feet before you go in the door and hand sanitize, we just have to do what they tell us. And Canada is sort of a half mask, half not. I don't wear them very often, but I'm not saying that I won't. If I have to, I will.
Okay, Paige. Okay, so if anyone has another question, we're almost about to finish. And I want to go back to, why don't you just tell us a few recommendations to some new coaches talking about the communication between parents and coaches, like a few ideas coming from you, like to shortcut this whole conversation.
Yeah, I think that as a coach, I try to say to a parent, hey, let's touch base on Friday. I'll send you a message to the week on like, Rachel did great this week. I want her to do, an extra off ice, or, we need to get ballet. But there can be a weekly text check-in, which I think can be very helpful. So if you plan that with your coach and parent, and then everyone knows, like, okay, well, I'm going to get a message on Friday, so I don't need Wednesday, and it puts people at ease because they know there is communication and it's a constant thing. So I think that like a weekly text briefing, as you could call it, is important. And then a monthly meeting where you can sit and there can be like questions and, concerns. And sometimes those meetings are like, we don't need to have one. She's doing great. She's happy. And you know what? In my opinion, when that kid is happy, right? Like,
you can see the progress. You can see, yeah,
and she's just happy. He's happy. And they're not upset with, I'm going to lose, or I'm going to this, or I'm doing that. So I think when everyone is on the same communication, that makes the athlete at ease and everyone is happy, which is the win-win situation.
Yeah, totally. Some others? What do you think about feedback?
Feedback from the coach?
Yeah, like to the kid, or like having those regular meetings. How often do you think the skater should be in the meeting or not be in the meetings? Or
I think it's necessary for the skater to take responsibility. In some cases, we've had skaters sign like, and I'm talking the older ones, not like a younger, but they've had to sign a waiver. Like, you're going to do ballet, you're going to do off ice, you're doing this. And if you don't, see ya. Because they have to take responsibility. There's so many times where parents come in and they're so upset with the performance, but it's like they haven't done off ice. They haven't shown up on time. They're not playing their music. They're not doing their programs. And as they get older, I know it's responsibility as a coach, but you can lead a horse to water. You cannot make them drink. That's a saying that I truly believe in skating. If you're self-motivated and you want to do it, you will. Sure, you need a kick in the butt once in a while, but those athletes that have that drive and desire will do it. Yes, we set the whole thing out, but if they're not doing it, you can't. It's no one's fault but the skater.
Wow, Paige, thank you so much for all the message you gave us tonight. I don't know if someone else, there's a lot of highs like people is saying
Hi.
hello. So hello to everyone. Do you have
Hi,
something else
everyone.
you want to add? Um,
I just want to say that, like, I think we all miss skating right now, and the the thing that inspires me with our sport is not the achievements that I've seen from some of the athletes I've worked with. It's the relationships that I've had, and like Jorge with you, um, Mexico is like one of my favorite places. So
yeah,
the
we all love you.
and the glide of the blade, and we miss the glide of the blade. And if we can remember that when we're competing and the pressure's there, just how much we love this sport, we have to go back to the skate because you love to skate, not for any other reason, not because your mom wants you to, not because your dad wants you to, or your coach. Skate because you love it. And that's why we teach, and that's why we're all in this.
Wow, thank you, Paige. Thank you so much for this, for sharing this time with all of us. And well, that's it for tonight. It was
Thank you,
muchas
Jorge.
muchas gracias. Can you say muchas gracias in Spanish?
Muchas gracias. Adios.
We miss you in Merida, and I bet everyone in Mexico miss you in Monterrey. So let's pray
I
that
miss you
this
guys.
it's over very soon. Okay. Gracias a todos.
Okay,
Thank you,
yes.
Paige. Nos vemos.
Thank you,
Adios.
Jorge.
Bye bye, Paige.
Bye.
Love you. Bye bye.